live stance. How about that? Why don't you get behind them? Because
It's Vindog Radio. What's up, Vindog?
Jess, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. I was hoping for a reverb effect on that part.
Booyah!
There we go. Vindog is in the house.
Hey, Vindog in the house, I want you to take a look at this video. This is pretty heinous. A 17-year-old kid at a high school savagely beat his teacher because his Nintendo Switch was taken away from him.
We call him Vindog. He's Vinny to me. And if you know, he was like one of the guys that was raised up with Rick Dees. And I don't know if you guys ever remember Rick Dees. This guy is a guy, my friend Vinny, who's been pretty persecuted. He's been pretty beat up in the world in which he lives, the secular radio DJ world. This guy was a big name on all the big radio stations, and people have always really loved him, but he's always been unapologetic about his faith. And I know him really well, and anytime the guy gives me any info about anything that's going on, I typically blindly trust it because he does a very good job at researching his info, kind of like Monkey is to me in many ways.
Without ado, let's bring on Vindog. Vinny, what's cracking, man?
Hey, what's up? It's Rick Dees in the morning. Don't forget to wake up with me right here. But right now, Vindog.
What's going on, brother? We got Captain America Vindog, man. This is great.
Asked Vindog to bring his DJ voice. He's an interviewer, and so that's what we're going to be doing today. So please welcome my good friend Vindog, and we're going to be taking questions at the end as we usually.
Actor, author, extraordinaire, the man. He does it all. My brother, Christopher Palaha. What's up, man?
What's up, big dog?
Breaking Barriers is all about my brother, Mr. Ryan Tillman. How you doing, man?
Big Ben dog, what's going on, my brother? I am doing well. How you doing today?
Let the government be your daddy. You are self-governed.
Now here he is, a lover of God, America, and people. Captain America himself, Vindog Radio.
Yeah, Stack, we are back, definitely in the house. It's Vin at 10, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tuesday, February 28th. Sorry, if you were born on February 29th, you have to wait until next year for your birthday, so that's too bad. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you I was going to bring in a very special guest. Yes, Mr. Hollywood for Freedom himself. Man, how you doing, man?
Yo, what is going on, Vindog? And I got to say, I'm laughing and I'm feeling like a little nostalgia because I hadn't seen the opening of your videos, and I saw that Captain America from the Avengers video, the arcade back in the 90s, bro. That took me, all the way down. As you can see here, I am a big comic book fan, so it's like when you had that up there, bro, I'm like, all right, yeah, this is my guy, so I love it. How you doing?
Yes, sir. Good, man. Good. Ladies and gentlemen, his name is SIAKA Masakoi.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Did I get that right?
You got it 100% right. SIAKA. Actually, I'll say 99% because my wife will be listening. It's Masakwa.
Yeah, Masakoi. Yeah, she'll be like, no, you didn't get that right.
He's done it. It's so funny because I grew up my whole life, of course, with this name, and I got used to certain people just not getting the last name complete, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And when her and I started dating, about probably 4 months into it, she was like, "They're saying it wrong," and she'd start taking up the mantle of like, "You got to say it right." So it's been her having me correct people right now. So you know,
hey, as she should though, bro. As she should.
You're 100% correct. Yes, you get it right. The name, you know, it means it means something.
Yeah, it sure does, man. That just shows how much she treasures it. So that's awesome. So you started Hollywood for Freedom, right?
Yes,
You and a
sir.
couple other people, and now it's a nonprofit. And man, it's crazy how many people of celebrity lineage are getting behind this. So
Well,
let's walk people into this.
yeah, yeah. First of all, thank you again for having me on, and I'm happy we connected. We got connected through a mutual friend, DJ Pat.
Yeah, Pat D.
Yeah, Pat D. He actually came to one of our events, Hollywood for Freedom, and what happened with that, and everyone knows the shutdowns and the lack of work. One of our main founders, Tatum Shank, and his wife Jennifer Shank. Tatum booked a job on that show Bel Air. Do you know that show Bel Air that just came out?
Yes,
Yeah,
right. Okay.
the series version of Fresh Prince. So he booked a job as the headmaster, which is like the guy who's running the school. So a pretty significant role.
Yes.
They called him up. The way it works in the industry, you book a job, and then you have production will call you, and then it goes down. Then you get called by wardrobe and so on and so forth. Then you get PAs will tell you times and all that good stuff. And so when production called them, they're like, "All right, this will call you, that will call you. We just need to get your I will say your papers. We just need your papers for your medical information. That'd be the best way to
Mhm.
say it.
The stuff.
The stuff." And he goes, "Oh well, I sent him my religious exemption," and she was like, "Oh, okay, someone else is gonna have to call you then," and he never got a call back. And so,
Wow.
yeah, and so we were like, this is just sick. This is getting ridiculous, and figured let's just start our own thing. Let's just start. We need a place, and we need to start building our own thing because we saw the writing on the wall, and I think that the pandemic really just pushed, like they really just showed they want to push people of faith out of the way. They
Yep.
want people to jump on board, but especially people of faith need to be pushed out of the way. And you saw that discrimination from churches are not essential, and past churches getting fined, and up in Canada, pastors getting arrested because of this. And so we just thought, like, look, they're coming after Christians like this. We need a place. And there's a lot of people in Hollywood who are conservative, who are Christians, who are too afraid to speak up. I know many good friends, people who are in positions of power, people who I looked up to going, when I get there, I'll change things. And they're sitting there quiet because they're so scared. So it's like, well, we're already canceled. Screw it. Let's just do it ourselves. So we started doing it. And I mean, that I'll tell you, like our first event, one of the favorite moments ever in doing this whole process was our first event. At the end of the night, we were doing it at this place, Pineapple Hill. Shout out to Angela Marston, who it was a restaurant that, did you see the video of the restaurant that had the outdoor seating in the parking lot, but it was told to shut down, and then she turned over and saw the production company filming there. Like, did you see that video years ago?
Yes. Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, I shared that video, I think.
Yeah, and that's Angela Marston. So she allows us to have our events at her place, which has been amazing. Our first event, at the end of it, I'm hanging around, and somebody brings a guy to me. He goes, "Oh, well, he's one of the guys that started this thing." And the guy's like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Oh, a place for artists who just want to be free." I'm doing the pitch, and he's holding a beer, and he looks around. His eyes start to kind of get. He's like, "I've been he's like, I've been an independent director for 15, 20 years out here in the industry. And now, because I won't follow the rules at all, I can't even go into places." He goes, "I just walked over here just because they will let me sit down and have a beer. He goes, I just wanted to be around people." He starts to cry, and he goes, "Thank you." And I'm like, wow.
Wow.
And this was the end of 2021. So we saw, just beyond us needing to be together, and just beyond us having fun setting this up, we saw the need and the starvation for connection. And it was something that we knew that we're on the right path. So yeah, check us out, HollywoodForFreedom.com.
Yeah. And you also ran for a seat, too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I went hard in the paint after I in a sense came out as conservative. I went hard in the paint. I saw that my journey was that summer of 2020. I was just done with what the industry was selling. And I decided to get loud and vocal about it. I did a PragerU video. Unbeknownst to me, I was at this point in September, I started doing the recall for Gavin Newsom. And unbeknownst to me, September 17th, 2020, the California Secretary of State put me on the censored list for social media. So that was, looking back, that was the moment where the government's like, all right, we're coming for you. You're on our radar. And so then, in 2021 came around, I was going around doing a lot of rallies and speeches. So I was kind of campaigning in a certain way, but without saying, all right, yeah, I'm running for anything. And I would always tell people in the speeches, hey, if you hate what's going on, you be the change, you be the difference, right? Like, you run for office. And then after a while, people kept saying, are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? And the way it was set up, this midterms, it was my district was up. And at the very least, no experience running for office. And at the very least, I'm a different conversation and I'm a different point of view in this conversation that we should have. At the very least, people can have someone coming to them and saying, hey, guys, something different. Do you like what's going on? At the very least, we could just get that message out here in this area that people say it's too blue to even try. And so, yeah, I ran for the 43rd district here in Los Angeles, in Southern California, of all places. And, we got about 18 to 19,000 votes. We were up against the machine, which is fine. But we've met a lot of churches. We connected with a lot of businesses that people really want something different. They just don't have it presented to them on a consistent. And culturally just leans to the left. So that's all they kind of know and understand.
Yeah, and and especially in California, the lefty lunacy is on steroids when it comes to politicians.
Oh yeah,
and even some rhinos. But the thing of it is that I believe that California is responsible for the reason why we have a majority in Congress right now.
Oh yeah. No, you're 100% correct. I mean, we got so surprisingly enough, the numbers of turnout wasn't where we should be, but the movement of the needle, and that's the other side. I think this Instagram, Facebook world has tricked us into believing that the change should be the next day. That's not the case. If Roe v. Wade taught us anything, that was 50 years of murder, and it finally turned because people have been working for those 50 years to stop it. So we're chipping away. We are behind the 8 ball, and yes, with more fervor, more action, we can move faster, but it doesn't just change overnight. And so we just got to start to chip. And I think it's actually going to crack through a lot faster in the long run than people believe.
Man, I remember when it was overturned and I saw people like, Pocahontas. That lady was shaking like a leaf on a tree. She was so angry and wow, I've never seen such a demon possessed like that before.
I'm happy you say that because that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
What it is,
Yeah, we're in the middle of a spiritual battle, man. It's crazy.
Everything's a proxy war for the spirit. So nothing's separated, even though people are like, oh, religion and politics. No. Politics is a part of this whole thing. And that's you see it by the laws of passing.
Yeah, and when people say, oh, you shouldn't mix your religion with politics, I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. First of all, it's not a religion, it's a relationship with Christ. Yeah. And let me mind you that if you read about in biblical times, even the Bible prophets warned leaders of countries and kingdoms. So let's not go there with that. You know what I mean? God told them to warn them. Hey, look, if you don't change your ways, I'm going to thrash you.
Yep.
So, and Jesus cracked the whip and flipped those tables over in the synagogues.
Oh, yeah. It's like you don't disrespect God's space with this stuff. And what we've seen over this last 3 years, man. And I'll tell you like this, I was not a Christian in that, in the sense of, in the traditional sense of word. Like I went through recovery and I found God through, through AA and through program. But I wasn't all on board with Jesus in that way, and as these last 3 years and to see the enemy work so hard, brother, like I can't, it baffles me, man. It baffles me how the enemy is just, the drag time story hours, having kids. I just posted on my Instagram recently, kids dancing and performing for grown adults in lingerie and all this stuff. And grown men going, well, if it's not your thing, just don't go. I'm like, it shouldn't be anyone's thing, bro.
Yeah.
And as I've been taking this course, hermeneutics, right? Studying the Bible. And one thing I've learned in it is that this desire for us to not want them to dehumanize children, to murder children, for a man to be with a woman, for a nuclear family. That's not natural for the human culture throughout the world. Ultimately, it's usually the powerful take, and they do what they want, and they control the masses. So we're really, when they say, like, we're fallen and it's a sinful world, when you look at how hard they fight against man and woman, life is from inside the womb. It's like, wow, we're that far apart where we're calling abortion, we're going to killing of babies a political issue.
Yeah, that is sickening. That's really sickening, man.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what? In the middle of this, I'm gonna play a piece of a little comedy video that you made on the. This is funny, man. And I'm gonna play a piece of this, and then you can tell me how you came up with this concept afterwards. But check this out.
It's just comedy.
I love the government. It takes care of me in ways I couldn't. It also takes care of everyone else. But mostly me.
Oh my goodness! First of all, Ben, thank you for going deep into archives for that one, because that was like our second sketch we ever did for the sketch comedy group I started called "What the Fact." Man, it was, and that group was started out of necessity for artists wanting to do something together. That's all.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so the guy you see there, his name's Alistair Bayardo. He and I actually worked on one day on the set of what was that? SWAT, the TV show SWAT.
Oh yeah.
One day back in 2018. That's it. And then we follow each other, stayed up, the Instagram friend stuff. And then over at the Trump rallies, I've been going for about a month. This guy's walking around with a black cowboy hat, and had like a gator all up covering his face. Walking around, and so because people were trying to mess with us, so we're clocking this guy like, all right, be aware. Most people don't cover their face, right? Not at the rallies anyway. And so eventually comes, like, he walks by me and he pulls it down. He's like, "Yo!" I'm like, "Oh!" I'm like, "Ow, what's up, buddy?" So we're chatting. I'm like, "Dude, I always felt like he was just a cool guy. We just, our lives. He's busy. I'm busy. We just never had time to stop and sit down with each other." And so we saw each other. We said, "What's up?" We were chatting. A week later, he's like, "Yo, I got this sketch, with a buddy of mine. You want to shoot it?" And that first sketch was a Joe Biden, "You Ain't Black." Kind of, we were making fun of that. And it was just very subtle. And the whole theme was that, like, my character heard it and was like, "Did he just say that?" And then as I go through different moments, like, I get in my car, I turn on rock music, and then I'm jamming to it. Then I hear in the background, "You ain't black, black, black." You're like, what? And then you go and you pick between fried chicken and like a chicken salad. I pick chicken salad, and it's like, "You ain't black." And it's all these different cliche points of what black's supposed to eat and listen to and be about. And I always choose the opposite of it. And it was like hearing his voice over and over. And so then the second one we did, Al wrote, and he's like, "Yo, let's do this one about dating the government." And we're like, and so we have all these little points, and you saw some of it there, where it's like, he takes care of me, but everyone else, and keeps me healthy. And like, I'm pouring it. That's actually me in that whole suit. It's me in the government suit. And we did this whole thing. And throughout the sketch, if people go back and check out whatthefact.tv on Instagram, or What the Fact on Rumble has all our sketches. And you'll see at the end of it, as it progresses, each time you get back to him, he's more beat up. Like, he has a black eye, that his tooth is gone, then he's wearing a sling in his arm. And then by the end of the whole sketch situation, he's sitting there with the government and like therapy going, "Oh, we got it." So we're showing that how the government's really beating us up. They're slowly beating, but we do it in a way where it's fun, it's funny. And I think places like that, Babylon Bee, like, that's how we're really going to crack through a lot of the cultural stuff, is having humor and telling a story behind it. Because just telling people something's wrong, I mean, you know it, I know it, growing up, we were teenagers, we were kids. Heck, as adults, people just won't do it just because it's the right thing all the time. once it sits into your chest and your soul, and that's why I think art is so important on the conservative movement and the Christian movement, and we're missing that now at full force. Or I should say, we're behind compared to the left. You have shows like The Chosen. You have places like Babylon Bee, you know, which is I've been working with them now on a sketch called California's Moved to Texas, and we're seeing like so much people just fall in love with just the characters they get to see on a consistent basis. We need to have that, and so that way people can grab hold and relate. And that California Moved to Texas video, Joe Rogan retweeted it, and it just blew up. It worked so well that I was walking the district, you know, knocking on doors. I knocked on his door. The lady's like, "Oh my God, you're the one from the Bee," laughing, gives me a hug. We talk about a few things lightly. She's like, "Oh my God, you need to go see that house, that house, that house, that house." By the way, in LA, by everyone, all the houses around her were conservative. And then when I got home that night, she donated $500 to my campaign.
Nice.
See how, and most of it was because I, as a character in a piece, she can sit with and just enjoy and just laugh and let go. Goes, okay, they give me a good feeling. Let me be about what they're about. We need more of that. We don't have that now.
Yeah, that's true. And you know, I was just thinking about something right now. We should do one about radio stations. How, you know, because you know I worked in the inside of the media, so I know how a lot of things work. They tell you what to say, what not to say.
Yeah.
Oh, take this out, put this in. No, don't say that today. Save that one for 9 months from now. We should do like a skit on that. Like the program director comes in and tells the on-air personality, "Hey, no, you can't say that. Oh, do this." It'll be so funny. You know what I mean?
We actually did one kind of like that, but it was real quick. But I like that. I'm writing it down now because when people come up with good ideas, I want to make sure I write it down so I don't forget.
Because I think that would be hilarious. I think that's hilarious.
We can come on and we can have you be the program director as a guest, so you're the one yelling at us not to say stuff.
Yeah.
you know how they speak better than we do.
Oh man, exactly. This is per protocol. Well, you know what? I was that guy that said, "The heck with the protocol."
Yeah, I can tell. And the other shout out on your opening that you just reminded me about was Rick Dees. I used to listen to Rick Dees all the time. So when his voice came on, I was like, Rick. I love Rick.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that guy is one of the most incredible mentors. Him and what was it? Oh yeah, Sean Hollywood Hamilton. Can't forget about him. So I've been pretty blessed to have some great mentors in the broadcast industry. So it's kind of crazy, man. And you know, I was like this 13, 14-year-old kid in the late 80s, you know, going into the 90s, like, this guy's going to go into radio, you know? And you know, I had friends, they were doing other things. Like, they're like, "Oh man, we're going to go out, you know, with the girls and this and that." And I'm like, man, I want to work on my craft. I want to be one of the best in the business, you know? So, you know, I had a different agenda.
Well, that's your agenda is that as I'm finding out in this life is like, that's what, especially boys, that's what we should have been on.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I know growing up in the 90s and all that stuff, and that was when you really kind of started seeing the shift to kind of putting everyone on this activist train, right? So you're only focused on fighting whatever oppression you think you see. And that, I think when that's the focus, a lot of young people lose then what drives them personally, and then they're actually not engaging in the gifts that the Lord gave them. And now that's why they're angry all the time, is why they're fighting each other when you can't fight the bad guy. And that's why it's always just this pent up rage you see is going on, because you're not following your purpose, because you never actually searched for your purpose. You've only been activating from what someone else said you should be doing. So it's something that we need to get back to. We need mentors for young men. We need to have that sense of purpose again to come back in, and people work, like you said, work on your craft.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And so it's kind of cool because I thought, okay, God is doing this for me because I'm going to be this big time, you know, right?
Casey Kasem.
Yeah, Casey Kasem guy.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case. God's like, "No, I'm taking you through this road so you can know what's really going on in the industry. And then after that, I'll use you for my purpose." And I think that's what happened in 2020 in the month of
Yes.
July. That God's like, okay, you're going to do a podcast. I'm like, oh Lord, what am I doing?
Mm.
Kind of still ignoring it for a second or 10. I mean, I had started in April of 2020 when I was still doing radio, and I was like, I don't know. And then God goes, okay, do I have to throw you into the sea urchin like Jonah or what? You know what I mean?
I mean, seriously. As you're telling your story there, it reminds me of the same thing here. I mean, I've been out in LA since 2004. And now, with all the different things I've gone through and working in the industry and going back and forth, I thought to myself, as the next things coming up, and I was just emotionally done with the Hollywood industry in that way. All the people and all the events that started coming my way were just like, wow, I think I'm prepared. I've been prepared just so I can get in here, hit the ground running. I've done stuff with people who just like, one of the thing about the conservative side is sometimes the presentation isn't at the level that you see from Hollywood. And so the fact that now we have people like myself and others that are in the industry kind of connecting with these, more well-known conservative groups and going, hey, here, I got the turtle wax. Let's shine this thing up, and we're in that position, and we can now bring our expertise there. And that's why Holler for Freedom I think is so important, because we do have so many writers, producers, directors, DJs, musicians, grips, everything in front, behind the camera, everything in the artist world that have been out here in Los Angeles, have worked their butts off, have built their skill level, are playing at that level, but yet because of politics or whatever, they won't be able to express it. If we see that gap, that hole there for the conservative movement, that they're missing those individuals, instead of never looking into LA because it's too blue to try, you come in here. Holler for Freedom is a database. Production companies can come and look over and go, okay, you reach out to these people, because at the very least, we know that they're free thinking. At the very least, let alone then you go further down the road and they're like Christians or conservative or whatever. But at the very least, we have people who are free thinking and goes, hey, your opinion is your opinion, mine's mine. We can still work together and can create at that high level. That's what we want to do with Holler for Freedom. And then that way, people here who have spent 10, 15, 20 years and then have just got their careers and their livelihood stripped away from them, there's still opportunity for them to do great work and to be seen and to then spread that out, because these other places, they need our type of talent.
Yes, they do. And people like Mel Gibson and Kevin Sorbo, they have been excommunicated from Hollywood because thoughts. I'm like, wait a minute, this is a great country. We're supposed to have free thinking. Critical thinking is a wonderful thing.
Oh yeah.
But if you say that, you'll get in trouble and you'll get labeled a racist
or a bigot. Yep.
Yeah. I'm like, and what did they say? What did Gavin Gruesome, the nuthead himself, say about Larry Elder? Oh, he's the black face of white supremacy.
Well, to be fair, he didn't say that. To be fair, that was the LA Times.
Yeah. But the thing of it is, the lefty loonies believe this stuff because they're the ones that propagate racism.
Exactly. I would like to call them lefticals.
They
get out there, and that's all it is. And we had in LA, we had that city council video that came out with that one city council member, Nuri Martinez. She was going on that racist rant of everyone in the city, and everyone got mad. And I thought to myself, okay, you're gonna have good and bad people no matter where you go.
Yes.
But if one group's focus is race and sex, equality of race, equality of sex, when they are bad or pissed off or in a negative space, they're going to be negative, bad, or pissed off about race and sex. So those things are going to come out, like how they really think, because that's the only way they view the world. So if it works, then that's a good white person. If it's bad, that's just one of those white people. That's how it is. Right? You know what I'm talking about, because I grew up around a lot of, I would say revolutionary blacks that would do that stuff. They would speak in that way where you can go, oh, I don't hang out with white people. And you're like, huh, isn't that racist? Like, I don't get it. Like, and they would speak in this way, but then except for one person who, well, you're different. Oh, well, you're different. And the white liberals will say that to me too. Well, you're black, but you're different. And you're like, what? What's going on? Yeah, exactly. So it's like if people are only living in that, when you go to that whatever place, the negative space that every human has, because we're all, we all have that. what else is going to rise up a negative view of race because the only thing you focus on is race.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's sickening, really. It's really sickening, and it's really lowbrow and intelligent.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so funny. And I always tell people too, I'm like, wait a minute, if you're a liberal and you're telling me this, and you say, oh man, I'm for the people. I'm like, you're not for the people. I said, you're a separatist.
Exactly.
Oh man, bro, they get hot under the collar when I call them separatist. And they're like, what do you mean separatist? I'm like, dude, you're just doing what your daddy Woodrow Wilson and FDR, continue doing.
Exactly. And
So
here's the thing too about I've noticed, and I did this podcast the other day with this guy Seth Gruber, who is
I love Seth, great guy.
Great. Seth is amazing, very smart, and like like you can sit there and listen to him lecture. And he was pointing out the fact that the way a lot of what we've have going on right now is all set up from like the late 60s. This is something that they've been working on to change the way we speak, to control our marriage count, to control the population. This is people can go, oh, they don't do pop. Look, I didn't think that till I saw it from out of their own words. You know what I mean? I'm like, wait, what? And so we are working really hard against I would say the enemy again, the evil one. This thing is it goes so deep. It goes so deep. It's sometimes you don't know where to look up, but like I like to stay in my lane. At the same time, I say to people, you got to be as dynamic as you are. Like I ran for office because I could do it. I'm doing acting because I could do it. I speak to people and hopefully can uplift it because I can do it. And I try to give back my time to those less fortunate, whether it's kids in juvenile hall or the homeless, because I can do it. If you can't do that thing, okay, find what you can do. Find what you can do, because we need everyone.
Exactly. And I said, you know what? And I finally said it in 2020. I said, you know what, Lord, I'm just going to be obedient to you and do as you say. And that was it. I said, okay, you gave me this gift. Might as well use it for what you want me to use it for. And so, finally, I hope it starts to bear fruit, because I think we need to get the message out in as many ways and forms as possible, because people are lost. You know what? I'm going to play this piece, and I love it because we're going to finish off this month that we have all been relegated to. Instead of it just being American History Month, it should be American history every day. Yeah. But I want you to see a legendary actor and voiceover guy make a so-called journalist and TV host from back in the day melt in his chair like the demon he is, and so is his son. Watch this.
Let's go. Oh yeah.
You find ridiculous. Why? You're gonna relegate my history to a month? Oh, come on. What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month?
What's his disclaimer?
Tell me. Well, I'm Jewish.
Oh, he's not white now.
Okay. Which month is Jewish History Month? Oh. Why not? Yeah. Do you want one? No. I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history. How are we going to get rid of racism? Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man. Yeah. And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man. I know you as Mike Wallace. You know me as Morgan Freeman. You understand what I know this white guy named Mike Wallace. You know what I'm saying? Uh-huh.
Oh, did you see his look? Did you see that final little look away where he's like it's like he couldn't accept that. It's weird. I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure you've seen that look when you're talking to people. I've seen it too.
Oh man, that's that form of that disease called liberalism.
Mm-hmm. It's a mental disease.
Yeah, it is. Liberalism is a disease. Mm-hmm. And I went to high school with this one guy, and I didn't know that he was like a tar baby until like a few years later. I'm like, oh man, no way, bro. You were in my house?
Whoa.
I was like, wait a minute. And you know what? And I said, you know what? This guy will call me everything but anything if I disagree with him, because that's how they work.
Yep, exactly.
That's exactly how they work.
And you see that's such a great clip. That's such a great clip, because again, it goes back to, I want to bring up Seth again, because he always points out, he pointed something out. every time you directly say what the enemy is, they deny it. No, I'm not. I don't. And you saw, he goes, hey, well, how about you get something? He goes, nope, I don't want it. What about the Jewish shit? Nope, I don't want it. You're like, why not? If it's so good and so important to end slavery or end racism or whatever they want to believe, why not? And he knew because he knew exactly what this is. He knew that all it did was kept people in that small little box, and he didn't want that to happen to him or his people. And that's sick, and it should happen to nobody. But he was willing to sit there and continue to clap it up and go down that line of that. It is and couldn't accept that it could not be that. That was that look at the end of it when he looks at the camera or looks away behind his head, like it's frustrating, man. It's frustrating. But you know what? Look, again, this is the time that we're in. God's called us to stand up now. Anything I've learned from now reading the Bible, it goes, there's nothing's new under the sun. People are going to find a way to tear us apart and rip us, further and further away from God, and we have to stand for Him.
And you know what? I don't know where Morgan Freeman's politics is, but the way he did that was perfect.
Oh yeah, it was clean.
And you know what's so cool about it is that Morgan Freeman is a well-spoken guy. You know what I mean? Hey, they can't take that in Hollywood, man.
No, not unless you're spewing their words.
Yeah,
they can't take your own thoughts.
They're just like, what he just say right now? Dude, Mike Wallace did not know what to say after that. He was at a loss for words.
I mean, listen to his follow-up question. Well, then, how do we stop racism? So 1 month a year is
28 days is going to stop it.
The shortest one, too, so that's how important it is to you.
Yeah.
The shortest month. So if that is your mindset, that's how you stop racism. Why are you picking the shortest month?
Exactly.
Like, when you break this stuff down, it's nothing in there. It's hollow. And that's hollow. When people are chasing something that's hollow, that's, as they say in program, that's that God-sized hole. And so you're going to fill it with something. And this world keeps throwing enough at you that feels good for a second so that you fill it. And as you're filling it with the wrong things, you forget where your purpose is. You forget where your calling is. And that's something. It's so hard to watch a lot of kids go through this. That's something that's really important to me. And I don't know if you saw recently how the report came out about Illinois and how like 2/3 of the schools, kids aren't even reading at their grade level or doing math at their grade level. LA, same problem.
Bro, why do you think they eliminated cursive writing? They're like, oh, we have to destroy this.
Yeah, they don't. They always keep pushing this idea. It's so funny as a research. They keep pushing this idea of evolution, right? Oh, we're evolving away from God and we're evolving away from that. And I thought about it. I'm like, man, people are dumber now than they were back in when we first started this country. In school, they used to make the kids memorize John.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know about you, but I can barely memorize any other phone numbers but my own. So, and that's not to say like, look, and I say I'm dumb too, because in comparison, because like there's faculties that I'm not using in my memory because of the way this fast life is working. I used to have all my friends' phone numbers in my head back in the 90s, remember? But now we've removed it. So when you have kids and you having to memorize the whole chapter of one of the Gospels, back when we started this country to today, they won't even, they can't even put two sentences together.
Oh,
evolution or de-evolution?
Yeah, and I love it when they come at me and say, "Oh, well, the founding forefathers would laugh in your face." Somebody made that comment.
About what?
They said something about Jesus on a post, and they said, "Oh, you're believing in a zombie." I'm like, "What? Are you kidding me?" They're like, they said the founding forefathers would laugh you out of this country. I'm like, you must not have read the Bill of Rights and the Constitution of the United States of America, because if you knew better, it was written upon the 10 Commandments of the Bible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And people like to argue with me, and I'm like, I have a copy. Where's yours?
Exactly.
Where's yours?
George Washington was a professor of theology.
Mm-hmm.
He taught about God.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone should check out Biblical Citizenship. It's Rick Green and Patriot Academy. 8-week course. It's free.
Mr. Hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You will see the things that I learned, and you brought up Woodrow Wilson. That man is one of the worst human beings to have been in power in this country, and the
Mm-hmm.
damage that he's done to true black history in this country and American history
Mm-hmm.
still lives on today, and that was over 100 years ago, guys. You want to
Yeah.
do research on Woodrow Wilson, you'll see that the League of Nations, he pushing through that, part of what we're dealing with now, taking black accomplishments out of history books back in 1909. Like this guy, and he was a Princeton professor, so he's a liberal professor. Go figure, huh? Yeah, the Sadducees and Pharisees still doing things the way they want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really dark. That's why I think a lot of people on the left that are caught up in it, because they're good people. They have good hearts, but they don't understand how dark it can get. And so when you tell them some of this dark stuff, they're like, "No way, that had never happened." And you're like, "All right, well, they're chopping up children out in front of us, and people still don't want to believe it."
Yeah, the Baby Harvesting Academy is the lefty loonies, big time.
Oh man,
Um,
I pray for them, and I want everybody to know I pray for them. But at the same
mm-hmm.
time, I'm not gonna be shy to say what I'm seeing because it's insensitive. We have to be angry. Hate the sin, not the sinner. So I will say every day of the week, chopping up children because someone in their brain thinks that they're another sex is wrong to do. Should never legislate it. Government should never be behind it. They're trying to push this euthanasia thing. So everyone who has a mental health issue now can just kill themselves is what they want to do here in California. That's going on in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
These things are sick. 17-year-old girls done. We had a whole, what was it? I forget, in the East Coast, they had a whole 5th grade class just transition of all girls. This is sickness.
Yeah, it
Not
is.
acceptance.
Yeah. And if you are sitting back and accepting this, man, I just want to remind you right now, millstones weigh from 200 to 700 pounds.
Yeah.
And if you have one of those tied around your neck, basically Jesus is like, if you are going to harm these children in such a way, you're going to get thrown into the ocean. You might as well be thrown into the ocean.
Yep. Yeah.
Because, wow.
It's about, like, if we look at all of this again, Seth was bringing up, this is all a proxy war for the spirit. All of this, all of this. So people can scream all they want about it, but one thing the Lord has put in my heart, and 5 years into my sobriety, a good friend of mine, this husband and wife who they're Christians and have been with me on my journey, they sent me a bracelet that had Joshua 1:9 on it. I didn't know what it was. And so, have I not commanded you? I read it. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. So we're called, and as I've read it, we're called so many times in the Bible to do what? Be strong, be courageous, be bold, be strong, be courageous, be bold. Like, speak the word of God because He has your back. And so, this is something that I will share this with you guys. This is something that a pastor friend of mine gave me right here on my notebook, and it hit me in a way that once they gave me that 5 years in, so many things came on where I had to sit back and go, no, He's got my back. He's got my back. And then it's so many more messages like that come that revert back to Joshua 1:9. It's been wild over the last 3 years. So this stuff's living, guys. Don't get used to the Instagram responses in order to say that's truth or not. Like, truth takes time sometimes, and it comes in very different ways.
Yeah, and I love the fact when they speak on the word truth, they're like, well, that's your truth, and this is my truth. Like, there's only one truth, and the truth is through God Himself.
Yes.
Exactly. So let's get that straight. And and they hate it. So I had one guy, and I won't mention his name because I don't want to give him any credibility in any form or fashion. But he told me, he asked me, he goes, can we take God out of the conversation? I'm like, oh, that's when you know you're winning, when they ask you to take God out of the conversation.
Right. Yeah, because they need you to be in their secular worldview in order to have the conversation.
Mm-hmm. I said, well, yeah, right.
You got to refuse that because, again, that's the same. That's the same exact thing as pastors telling Christians, like, separate church and state, because how do you separate your faith from when you're going in there and voting whether somebody is going to put more money into killing babies or not? Like, where does your faith stops there? Like,
exactly.
Here in California, we passed Prop 1, which is abortion at any age, any cycle.
That was horrible.
And it was 1 million to about I want to say about 1 million yes, and about 600 and something no, right? 600 to 700,000 no. And I say to this, that was an indictment on where Christians are in this country. Truly. Because if I'm sitting here going to different rallies and different churches and they're talking about the sanctity of life, I say to myself, do we not believe there are more than 1 million Christians in California who believe this is wrong? And if that's the case, they sat back and did not walk in their faith, because now the amount of murder that it will just be increased in the state has went up double. And it's not because of the people in the darkness already, because that's what they were going to do. It's those in the light that chose to do nothing. That's who's responsible for this right now.
Yeah, and you know what? 100% right now, I blame the pastors on the pulpit who did not speak out.
Exactly.
Because, and remember, the guys that are supposedly leading on the pulpit are the ones that are going to be held accountable the worst.
Yep.
Yep. God says it.
Yep. And as they should. As they should. And it's interesting, like you said, they're not speaking from the pulpit. There's something I learned in biblical citizenship, that whole 501c3 and everyone trying to use that as tax exempt. People don't understand the 501c3 was set up so that people like you and I would work as if we were a church. Churches are exempt, period. Anyone wants to test that? Bring a candidate to your stage and see if the IRS comes after you. They won't.
No.
501c3s is set up so you and I, regular people or regular businesses, act as a church. They're not a church. So the church is still autonomous. That was the whole plan and set up from the beginning of this country, was that the churches would stay autonomous from the state, separating the state from the church, not church from the state.
And by the way, the founding fathers that helped create this Constitution knew that the government eventually will try to infringe itself upon the First Amendment. And the First Amendment was meant to protect not only free speech, but the church from the government. Yes.
Specifically. People got on boats and left this place, or left where they came from, to go to unknowns just so they could worship the Lord their God. It's people don't understand that, because we can get Uber Eats, people don't get that because you can watch everything on your phone. They don't get like what it really means to have given up everything you've known from your home, to be prosecuted or persecuted in a way where people are being tossed in jail and killed and beaten. Leave your pastor behind, who is your spiritual leader, because he was like, they drew lots and they go, all right, I'm going to stay here. He's got everyone ready. And like Moses could not see his people to the promised land. And so we're like, what does that take? It's more than just hitting a button on a phone and then, or getting a couple words with your thumbs and thinking that you've done something to change the world. So to try to destroy that, like, it's so disgusting.
Yeah. That's why they invented keyboard warriors. So we were talking about all this. I want you to watch this piece. And I know you've seen this, and my man Seth Gruber has tried to push this into everyone's minds. And I want to embed this into people's brains every single time I do a show like this.
Oh, here we go.
Yes.
This broad.
Satan's assistant.
Do you believe in sin? When I say believe, I don't mean believe in committing sin. Do you believe there is such a thing as sin?
Well, I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born. That, to me, is the greatest sin.
Wow.
Marked when they're born, she says.
Yeah.
That can't even be a human.
And you know what's crazy? She used prominent black pastors in Brooklyn to push this agenda. And what's happening today? I'm telling you, the left wing is, man, they're on steroids more than a Bernie Madoff scheme.
Oh, man. Oh, Madoff. Shout out to Bernie Madoff, huh?
Yeah.
Dude,
they make you look like a prince.
Man, honestly, it breaks my heart. And I've said this before, and I'll be candid. Like, in my lifetime, I fell for it. I had, there were women that I were with that I know I had at least 3, and that 3 abortions, and that breaks my heart still to this day. I look up, I'm 43 now, and it's like I could have a 20-some-year-old kid, and I love my godsons to death. I've always been, all my friends. I've always been Uncle C to everyone. But when you look and get past this fear of growing up, is really what it is. Maturity, hitting the next level of life that God has put for you. When you start to get rid of that, you realize what you've really lost, and it's sad because the culture, whether it's rap music or some of the shows that are out there, it keeps showing, you know, YOLO. You only have one life, so live it like you get all the pleasure in the world before you go, and you miss the ultimate joy. Marriage and a family is a piece of the kingdom of heaven. That's the
Yeah,
important
it
about
is.
that.
It's very godly.
Exactly, and I just got married recently, and so all my 30s and all the time, that was like a real long journey for me. But at that same time, there was still that fear of commitment to settle down because I didn't understand the value of what I was getting into. All I was told was like, it's over. You'll never get, you'll never get, you'll never get, you never get. You're never told what you are getting consistently. You never
Isn't that
told the things
amazing?
coming. Yeah. They're always selling you the negative of anything. And I'm like, that negative that they've been selling comparatively is nothing.
Yeah, it's a bunch of hogwash.
Yeah. And think about this. And it says it, man, I will send it to you, but I forget the name of the book that Seth showed me. It's they want each country had to find a way to figure out how to control the population, i.e., and control marriage. Yet in the last 50 years, look what popular culture has shown us about how fun marriage is. They show us it's like the worst thing you can do. But ultimately, from the Bible, before the fall of man, what did God say? It's not good for man to be alone. And like you
No.
said, everything they do, you say 10 commandments, I say the entire book that they're working against.
Yep,
Everything they do is against the book.
66 books.
Yes, everything. And
Yeah.
people don't, and the sad truth is our country doesn't read as much as they should. And even worse, most of us, especially Christians, are biblically illiterate. And to sit in the word now and to read it and see what's going on, you're just like, man, like just get in the word. And a lot of these answers will fulfill itself, and a lot of the courage will come back to stand for what we just know deep down inside. Like when you really stop and think about abortion, it's wrong. It's wrong. Because she said, won't even be a human. Soon as you're inside of the womb and you're created, you're a human being. You're a form of a human being.
Yep.
You're not a clump of cells. You're a form of a human being. And you see how she spoke in a way where it doesn't count till after something? That's the problem. And I knew it, people growing up, clump of cells. My mom worked for the city and of Evanston and was like talking about, well, clump of cells and abortion's good because freedom of this and freedom of that. And I'm like, okay, well, because I grew up super liberal, man. This wasn't I didn't grow up a Christian in that way. Yeah, we went to Baptist church till about I was 12. And everything after that was like, I'll never forget. It was, I was like, well, what about adoption? I remember saying this to my mom at one point. She was like, those people, I was like, what about adoption or Christian churches? Like, those people aren't going to help them. They just say that. They won't do anything. I'm like, huh. And as a kid, you don't know how to follow up with the sense. And I remember it hit my head. So just end their life, huh? But as a kid, you don't know how to defend that. You just hear, your parent, who is your first version of God, tell you what's what. And you just, well, maybe it's right. Maybe there is more that needs to be done so that you don't have to go there. But right now, this is where we are. And, looking back on it is just, it's extremely dehumanizing. That was a prevailing thought and still is, and worse now. It's up to 9 months in California. Some places.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? The dehumanization process has always been the agenda. I mean, J.D. Rockefeller admitted it.
Yes, he did.
He said, we have to confuse people. We have to put people in debt. We have to make race one of the biggest conflicts, basically. We don't want to let them know that there really are one people. This is crazy.
This is crazy, man.
This is how sick these people are. They're really sick.
And it's like it's a very clear effort. There's money been put behind this. They've been working on this stuff for a long time. And the people, again, we moved away from the Lord. We are biblically illiterate. And now that's why we see a lot of people just, I believe, frustrated and being pulled to take action. And 2020 opened so many people up because just like in the book, there's only so long that you can go in this way, and either one or a few things going to happen. People are going to wake up, do something about it, or God's going to, do something about it.
Hey, I'm telling you, if people don't get it together right now, man, God is already preparing to clean the clocks of people.
Yeah, I know. And things you see around, you're like, all right, well.
I'm like, if you don't take a stand, man, you're going to be one of those people that God cleans the clock on,
Seriously. And a lot of people think, that's like, oh, he's going to strike you down or throw you into hell. And like, I don't believe in hell. And it's like, I've lived with hell on earth, man.
Mm-hmm.
I've lived that away from God and trying to hold on to my ego, pride, and self. I've lived there real hard, and I've watched a lot of people struggle with that and can't let it go, and seeing how dark their world gets even more. So
Yeah.
it's not just about dying and not going to heaven, guys. It's about living in hell right now if you choose to.
I'm going to play this piece from a person who supported Margaret Sanger. And I'm telling you, these people are talking themselves from hell on earth into the eternal damnation. Check this out.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to be back in Houston with so many friends and to have an opportunity to participate in Planned Parenthood annual meeting. I have to tell you that it was a great privilege when I was told that I would receive this award. I admire Margaret Sanger enormously.
I bet you do.
Her courage, her tenacity.
What?
Her vision.
Yeah, I bet.
Another of my great friends, Ellen Chesler, is here, who wrote a magnificent
Ellen Chesler, another racist.
biography of Margaret Sanger called Woman of Valor. And when I think about what she did all those years ago in Brooklyn, taking on archetypes.
You know what she means by that, right? Archetypes.
Men. Strong men.
Yeah. There you go.
Taking on attitudes and accusations flowing from all directions.
Because she's a devil.
I am really in awe of her. And there are a lot of
I bet you are, Hillary.
lessons that we can learn from her life and from the cause she launched and fought for and sacrificed so greatly.
Oh, yeah. Hey, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
Look at Margaret Sanger.
Wow.
I'm going to zoom in on this for you people that don't like archetypes. And you think you're doing the world justice by supporting these uber left lunatics. I want you to see this. I want you to see how the Tar Babies really feel about you. And yes, the Tar Babies are the founders of the KKK. And they say that conservatives,
Christians,
yes, are the lunatics and the white supremacists and et cetera and so forth. So I want you to gravitate yourselves to what these people are really pushing. And you know what? And this is coming from the globalists too.
Yeah.
They're pushing us.
They used to have Planned Parenthood worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I mean, they still kind of do, but they don't call it that anymore. But that was part of that group in the mid '60s that was working together to make this plan to where we are now. And it's just I'll tell you, like I say like this, and one of the most frustrating things when you tell this to friends and family, when you're posting on your Instagram, when you're or Facebook, when you're doing your radio show. I kind of want to, when people, especially people close to you, it's like, what do you think I get if I'm right? If I'm right, you then are right, and you can live a better life. I don't get anything. Like I don't get $1 million. I don't get a new house, a new car just because like I'm right. No. When they're right, they get more money for being right because they then have achieved that goal that they want the powers to be to have. But if I'm right, most people, or you're right, or whoever else on the side's right, you get more individual freedom. So
Yeah,
people
exactly.
miss, like, what's the win? The win is not just for me. I mean, it's ultimately for all of us, because then now you have your purpose. And they miss that. They think it's just right to be right. I'm right, so I feel good. No, I don't know. If I'm right, we don't have the shutdowns. If I'm right, people stand up from shutting down the churches and schools, and kids are going to. If I'm right, then people stand up and fight for their kids from getting sexualized in school and then chopped up. If I'm right, if people decide to go, you know what? Maybe that guy, maybe Vin's right. Maybe what these guys are saying were right. That's what you see. If they're right, Nike gets more money. If they're right, Comcast gets more money. If they're right, the left gets more power.
Yep.
So it's a clear difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and unfortunately, as you say, people that are relatives or loved ones, they don't see it, and it's sad because they don't realize the path that they're being taken down. And the shell, and unfortunately, God said that the shells are going to be over a lot of people's eyes, including the ones we're related to. And hey, man, I'm trying to dig in as much as possible, but we can only do so much. All we can do is pray for them.
Yeah, I mean, watchmen on the walls.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll tell you this, because this is how beautiful the God works. In 2020, this one person was following me named Christina, and she would be like, "Yeah, you're a watchman, and watchman, that's my watchman. Keep going, watchman." And I thought it was a comic book, right? So I was like, "Cool, I like to be a superhero." So I was like, "Thanks, thumbs up." As you can see behind me, comic book first, right?
Yeah.
And then a year and a half later, and this one guy from stophate.com, check that out, guys. He's like, "Man, you should check out Ezekiel 33. I was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll check it out."
Mm-hmm.
And then a week went by and I didn't. And he hit me up. We were talking. He goes, "Hey, did you ever check that out?" I was like, "No, I'm going to check it out today." So I went, sat down, and Ezekiel 33 says the watchman on the wall. I was like
Yep.
Everything dropped. And I'm thinking it went from a comic book to this woman was calling me this thing. This guy, my buddy, a year and a half later just goes, "You need to read this to see kind of where we are." And I'm like, wow. So God talks to us a lot of different ways. If you read the Bible, then you'll be able to decipher when he's trying to talk to us. Because you go, and you stand up, and then it fills you more with that authority that he gives us, because you understand you're going down that right path.
Mm-hmm.
Really beautiful.
Yeah, and we are watchmen on the wall right now. And people have to understand, if you're called to be a watchman on the wall, don't deny it. Don't deny the call.
Yeah.
Because you will regret it if you deny the call. Trust you me. So yeah, that's crazy that he had you to read Ezekiel 33.
Yeah.
And it says that. And you know what? It's funny. If you ever read the book of Daniel, all of the stuff that's in the book of Daniel is like on fast forward speed right now, happening today.
Oh, brother. I'm going through in my class, we're reading starting from Genesis. I'm in Exodus now. My wife and I, we read the Gospels. The first time I ever finished the Gospels at all, let alone with anyone else. But the first book we read was Romans. And I tell you,
oh boy,
read Romans 1. And I want anyone and everyone who's watching this, please, if you read Romans 1, please come find me on social media and tell me it's not what we see today. And once I read that, I was like, this is truth. I'm done. Because it's like a book written that long ago, talking about everything that's happening right now in just one chapter of that book. Before I even got into like the Word of God or in the sense of got into, Jesus speaking directly to us. Before I even got there, Romans 1 was like, and then this is happening. And then women won't want to be women anymore. And men won't want to be with women. They'll just be with each other. Sexualized. Will be bite-bite. Will be disobedient to parents. You'll be spiteful. And you'll be hateful. You'll be murderous. I was like, oh my goodness. So you've seen that California's have passed laws to make sure to say that kids don't have to tell their parents about their medical history. And I'm like, it's all right there. Which then tells you, I know it's stressful, but I'm not there at the end, but God wins. So I know it's hard now, people, but those other parts of the books are true and fit to today. We can hold on that hope that God's working and he's here, and our victory doesn't need to be here on earth. That it's already there. It's already here and we're living in it.
Yeah, we just have to continue to take a stand for righteousness. That's what we're called to do.
That's it. That is really it. That's really it.
Mm-hmm. So, man, I know I said I was only going to keep you for 40 minutes.
Is that what time is it? We've been at 2 hours? No. No, we can, you know how it goes. You know how it goes. We talk about good stuff. You just get into it. So.
Yeah, man, and it's great. And you know what? I would love to have you come back again. And
yes,
you know,
sir.
and I like to, our other guy to come back too. I like to have Mr.
Let's do the whole thing. Let's do a little panel.
Yeah, let's do a whole panel. I would love to do that, man, because I know Tatum wanted to come on too, but his schedule is crazy.
We'll work it out. We'll work it out. We'll make sure it goes. And it's. I think it's really great to hear Tatum and his wife Jen. I mean, I can't say enough about them and they're sorry, I get emotional. Their brother and sisterhood to me and in this time. And Tatum and I worked together one day on the set of Lethal Weapon, and what has the way they are close to the word. I just love them so much, and I appreciate everything they've done. So, yeah, you know, you need to get those guys on here to hear their story. They are walking with God, and it's so beautiful to watch. And I've learned so much from them and keep learning. So, yeah. Man, I didn't know that was going to happen.
Hey, the Holy Spirit's working in us, bro. That's what it is.
I love them, though. You know, I love them. I love them, and they're my family. They're my brother and sister in Christ.
Well, you know what, man? Ever since the day we started texting, man, that was the beginning of our official brotherhood, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Get used to it. Get used to it, man. We're in this fight together. We have to do that.
That's what I tell. I want to leave. Can I leave people with this? That's the thing.
Please do.
We're in this fight together. Not everyone is going to move in the same way that you either think they should, or you want them to move, or you move. But we're all in this together, and everyone kind of has their place. So, you know, as we move through this, and we will have our arguments, we'll have our disagreements, but we shouldn't be disagreeable to each other because we need each other. Don't put too much expectations on too many other people to work and move like you do. Only set yourself. The only one you can expect anything from is the Lord. And ultimately, we need to join and solidify these forces.
Absolutely, 100%. Man, you said it perfectly, my brother.
Thank you, my friend. Ben Dog Radio.
Hey, you know what? I would love for you to do me a favor and pray us out right now.
Yeah, I'd be honored. Thank you, sir. All right. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for the building and inspiring people to create such a platform as this, to help spread your word, Lord. Your word is so desperately needed. And we are here to be the vessels of that and to help spread your word, Lord. And we ask for your grace. We ask for wisdom, and we ask for your compassion through all things as we move forward and for all people. We know we don't wrestle with flesh and blood, but against principalities and evil ones of this age. We ask again, Lord, you just bless your people and see that we are fighting for you. See that we are stepping up for you, Lord. And it may not be as shiny as so many other things that the enemy is doing now, but you know the truth of where it comes from. It comes from you, God. And we ask everyone out here to continue to go through your days, love each other as you love yourself, and most importantly, love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And that way, Lord, you will work through us, and we will work to fix everything that's going on now that we need to, especially protecting our children. I ask all these in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen and amen. Please, right now, ladies and gentlemen, please share this broadcast. This was awesome. And like and subscribe to the channels that we're on right now.
Yes.
I'm telling you, man, SIAKA, you have to come back again, bro.
Oh, it's already done. It's written in the stars, man. We just have to figure out the date.
Man, God bless you. God bless humanity. And please love and take care of one another. And we will see you soon.
Yes. Good. Have a great day, everyone.